Okay, what I'm going to do right now is do a thrust test on this nozzle. This is a .165 ID, and this is our pressure gauge, and pretty much it's still the same system, but what I'm going to end up doing is I ended up adding a little sleeve here, real simple, and I made this little gadget here. This is actually it's going to be able to sit about 6 inches from the jet itself, because if we're here, we're really not doing any work. We want to get this further out to get that thrust and see how far this actually pushes upward. And one way to determine the amount of thrust is, number one, we want to weigh this. So what I end up doing, I'm actually going to add this heavy weight to it too, to give me a little bit more weight to measure. And let me turn this on so you can see. And what we're going to do is measure this in ounces first, and we're going to put this whole assembly on. And we got about 9.37 ounces. Let's calculate that. Take that off again and put it back on, just to verify. 9.38 ounces. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to do is do another quick measurements in grams, because I know a lot of people like the metric system. So let me do that. Units in grams, and we're at 0, and here we go. We're going to put this on. As you can see, we got that measured. We got about 265.6 grams. So that gives us a good idea of the amount of weight that we're going to push upward on the thrust. So we can actually measure now the amount of thrust compared to the PSI, and then we can calculate how many gallons per minute we can actually push up there to raise this up. So this is almost about 3/4 of a pound, you might say. So we're getting there. So I'll set this up and show you what it looks like. Okay, I ended up now installing this, and basically this is going to sit on there as a weight. As you can see, it's going to be able to force up. It's actually higher than 5.5, 6 inches away. The plate right there is about that high. It's almost, this is 3.5 inches from the nozzle itself all the way down to the base right here. So I think it's about almost 7 inches roughly on the distance from the jet. The jet's all the way down here hitting up this plate, and pretty much, let me calculate this pretty good. The system actually kicks on all in itself, so I'm going to try to align this really good. Right now we don't have no lift, but we don't have no pressure either, so let me turn this up a little bit. Right now I'm trying to make sure the nozzle jet is in center, because if it's not in center, we won't know if we're actually pushing upward. And I can feel that it is starting to lift. So, and we're only about 10 psi. So now we're going to turn this up a little bit more. There we go. Now we have lift. And make sure that jet is hitting it. Yeah, we're pretty much now. You can see we're actually lifting. That thrust is actually pushing upward that 9 ounces of weight. And in fact, you can see it's actually tilting. It's actually pushing up a lot more than I thought it was. I probably had to put more weight on it. You can see we're about 20 psi. I want to turn it up one more time. I hope I don't break the mirror. Now we have 30 psi. And look at that baby go now. Wow. Pretty impressive, I have to say. And we're pretty much lined up, so we got some huge amount of thrust now coming out, even at that area of about 30 psi or 31 psi. I mean, I know we're pushing over a pound of thrust, which is really important, definitely. So I want to have to measure this again. I'm going to try to get more weight on this and try to find an equal flow where the flow as far as the thrust itself. And this is not light. This is, you know, this is almost like I said, this is getting close to almost a pound of weight. So I'll try to put some more fittings on this and do another test and see what we come up with. Okay, what I'm going to do this time is now I'm going to actually use this. This is a little bit heavier. show you the weight of this. This is a, looks like it's 12.76 ounces on my scale. And this right here, we got to measure this also. This is 4.23. So we got almost a pound now of weight that we're going to exert upwards. So let me set this up and see if we can actually lift that with the a little bit of power that we're using and go from there. Okay, now I got this all hooked up. Pretty much I got this right here. This is the same, almost a pound of weight right here we're going to end up lifting. We're going to use the hydraulic jet. This is a .165 ID, and this is our pressure, how much pressure is actually coming out of that nozzle, or the head pressure at this internal fluid. So we're going to start this up and see if we can run this. What we're running is at 12 volts. Right now, let me check everything, make sure this is lined up properly. And it looks like it's pretty much lined up. You can see it's not really, let me get this all lined up. This is a very good stuff, okay. Move this over just a little bit more. It looks like about right. Boy, this jet has to be right where it needs to be as thrust is concerned. And this is our pressure so far. Let me turn this up. As you can see, we're getting it. Let me check the thrust. Make sure it's hitting it properly. It looks pretty good. All right, so far we got about 10 psi, nothing. We're not lifting that amount of weight. Let's turn it up a little bit more. It's starting to look a little bit better now. Oh yeah, look at that. It's starting to get there. We're at about 20 psi. Let's turn it up again. There we go. Look at that baby. Wow, that is a lot of thrust. That's a lot of hydraulic thrust. We're using about, looks like about 32 psi. I'm starting to cavitate a little bit. I'm definitely starting to cavitate, which is, as you can see, we're definitely lifting that weight. Very good. So that gives us a pretty good idea on the thrust. So we know now we can go by the amount of pressure, roughly, even if I throw 35 psi, it looks like they're about 32 psi, was able to push up almost this pound of weight. And this, I'll show you, this is where my plate is. I want to show you where my jet actually is. My jet's all the way down there. So it's almost like 7.5 inches, 8 inches away. So I'm not kicking it right directly at it. I think that would be misleading. So we're already about 8 inches away, and that thrust is still pushing this upward. So that is some pretty good data. I hope you enjoy this little update. Talk to you later.